Hello friends, I'm Deb from DG Reads and I'm here today to bring you my 25 books for 2025. I've always liked the idea of these 23 for 23 and 24 for 24 types of lists, and I contemplated creating one for 2024, but the idea of actually having to narrow down which books I want to hold myself accountable for gets overwhelming, and I didn't wind up doing it. So, enter Bree. Bree from Four Paws in a Book this year created a 25 and 25 bingo challenge because there are exactly 25 squares on a bingo card, and it worked out perfectly. And having prompts for what 25 books I need to pick for a list really helped me out. Still struggled on a few of them in determining what I wanted to pick, but I did create my list, so I'm here to share it with you. I will of course have Bree and her announcement video down below. She's got lots of graphics, information about the prompts, and all of those types of things in her announcement video, so please do go check that out. In creating my list, I did want to try to prioritize some books from my shelves, but also some books I'm really excited for that are coming out in the new year. So I think I got a pretty good mix going, and I'm just going to go starting with the top row and going down from there. So let's get into it. So for the first prompt, it's to read a book published in 2025, and for this one I'm putting in This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. This is an author I have really enjoyed before, and I'm very much looking forward to this new one. We're following a character who is looking for some escapism, looking into true crimes and working with other armchair detectives, and they get involved in a case where it sounds like a bunch of co-eds are killed, and there's something fishy about this case, and only she and the people who worked with her know the truth. This one comes out on March 25th, and I do have the e-arc sitting and waiting for me on NetGalley, so I'm hoping to get to it very soon. The second prompt is to read a one-word title, and for this one I'm going to use Malice by Gwynne. This is the first book in the Faithful and the Fallen series, and the first book for Faith Follow Along, which is the new iteration of the Catch Up Book Club hosted by Becca at Becca in the Books, and I am very, very thrilled to be a co-host for this read-along. We are going to be reading the 4 books in this series, and then another trilogy which is also set in the Banished lands. I have read this first quartet, and I really loved Malice in particular, but spent a little bit too much time between books and lost some of my intrigue, so I have forgotten a lot, and I'm really looking forward to revisiting. I will of course have the announcement video from Becca down below, which has the full schedule, but the live show for this one will be in early January, so this will be one of the first books I pick up in the new year. And then we have a prompt to read a book involving travel, and for this I have Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. This is an Illumicrate book that I've been meaning to get to. 2025 I'm actually going to pick up more of my subscription box books, and this one has Voyage right there in the title, so I think it's safe to say there's some travel involved. I don't know a lot about this one, but I have seen some people really enjoying it. The blurb says 12 magical blessings, 12 days at sea, one chance to stop a killer and save the world. So we've got fantasy, we've got murder and mystery, it sounds like, so this could be very much up my alley. For the prompt to read a book with a number in the title, I am planning to read Apartment 239. This is by Elford Alley. It is a horror novel set in Marble Springs. I don't want to read too much into it. It's a fairly short novel, about 240 pages, but it says it's a town with 100 missing persons cases, a lake harboring a bloodthirsty monster, and a second-generation serial killer on the loose. So I'm looking forward to that. It's one that I picked up on my Kindle probably a couple years ago now, and it just sits there kind of forgotten because out of sight, out of mind, and I need to get to it. And then the final prompt on row 1 is for a cover by, and this one I overthought for a really long time, but A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This is one I actually have the audiobook already, and I just love the cover so much. It's so pretty. I decided I needed to own it, so I think that was the perfect pick for a cover by. I don't actually know a lot about this one, but I think it's a mother and a daughter, a very eccentric mother, a daughter who feels a little bit trapped, and I just really love T. Kingfisher's writing, and this sounds like it maybe has some fairy tale vibes, which I think works really well in her writing, so I'm eager to read it. For the second row, we start off with a seasonal read. And for this, I was definitely thinking cold, wintry vibes. And so the book that I'm putting down for this is Cold Eternity, which is the upcoming release from S.A. Barnes. And I do have an e-arc for this one. I don't know much about it other than I've really enjoyed this author before. So I immediately said yes when I was offered a copy. It looks to be another space horror, which is something that I find really works well for me. The next prompt is for LGBTQIA+ rep, and for this one I'm going to go with The Last Hour Between Worlds by Melissa Caruso. This is one that Brie actually mentioned possibly in her 25 and 25, could be wrong about that, but it is also one that I just received from Illumicrate, another really pretty copy, and it is a sapphic romance among other things. It says, a star investigator and her rival journey through layers of reality to save the world as they know it in this whip-smart adventure fantasy packed full of reality-bending magic, sapphic romance, and tantalizing mystery. So it has a lot of buzzwords for me in here, and I am hoping this is a win. For a favorite author's new release, I put down The Dark Mirror by Samantha Shannon, and this is the newest installment, the much-awaited newest installment in the Bone Season series, which I've been absolutely loving rereading in preparation for this new book to come out, and I can't wait to see where the story goes with this new installment. For a hyped book, I plan to pick up Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, the new book from Grady Hendrix. This one is due out January 14th, so I will be picking this up very soon in the new year. What I know about this one, it is set at a home for unwed young mothers, and there is something about an occult book who someone gives to one of these young girls, and suddenly, for the first time in their lives, they kind of have power in their own hands instead of being under somebody else's thumb. And really, what I know about this book is it's Grady Hendrix. He's an auto-read author for me, so very excited to get to this one. And then we have Color of the Year, and for this I am using the Pantone color, which is a mocha brown. And the book I'm going to go for this one is Heavenly Tyrant by Jiran J. Zhao, probably mangling that, but it is the much anticipated sequel to Iron Widow, and that's one that I really loved, and I think this cover has so many different shades of gold and brown going on it that it definitely hits the Pantone color somewhere in the mix. It's been quite a while since I read Iron Widow, but I definitely remember loving it, so I'm looking forward to probably doing a reread of that one and then diving into the sequel. Moving on to another row, we've got a POC author, and for this I'm finally going to be reading The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. I've been really enjoying this trilogy. I have no excuse for not getting to this one, and I need to finish off this trilogy. It's about a young woman who really enjoys slasher movies, and then things in real life are actually happening and kind of following the tropes of a slasher movie, and I just need to finish off the series. This is on my priority series list for the year, and this is going to be the year of actually finishing some series. For novella, I have one that I'm super hyped about, and that is Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. I've really enjoyed Nat Cassidy's novels that I've read, and this is sounding, from the reviews I've heard, like a really weird, really wild, really fun time. It is definitely novella length. It's super short. It's horror. It's happening at a rest stop, which is definitely a setting that has lots of options to go into for horror. So very much hoping to get to this soon. For a 5-star prediction, I am putting down Gwynne Truth by Brandon Sanderson. This is the new Stormlight Archive book, and I'm scared of it. It is a big one. It is a long one. I've been hearing people kind of destroyed by it, but it is an author I love. It is a series I love. I can't see how this wouldn't be a 5-star read. For a comped book, I have The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. This is a really pretty Red Tower edition, and one I've heard some good things about, some mediocre things about, but my hopes are still kept high. The reason this originally made it on my radar is it was comped to A Darker Shade of Magic and Six of Crows, both of which are series that I have truly enjoyed, so I have high hopes for this one. And then for a friend recommendation, I'm going to go with The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. This is one that's been on my radar for quite a while because people have been talking about it. Cassidy at Covers with Cassidy has mentioned it in the past and recommended it in the past. And when I just got this really pretty edition, Maria from Maria Might Read That also commented on it in my book haul. So between those two, I am counting this as recommended, and I do own the first 3 books in the series now, so I'm really hoping that I enjoy it. On to row number 4, we've got a book over 400 pages. I've definitely hit the over 400 pages with this one. Labyrinth's Heart by M.A. Carrick is one I keep putting off, partially because of the size of it, but again, this is the 3rd novel, the final novel in a trilogy, and for that reason, I just need to get to it. I have been loving the series. I read the first one before I went to Italy, which is now almost a year and a half ago, and I read the second one sometime this year, so apparently I'm doing one a year, and this will definitely get done in 2025. For a special edition book, I have On a Clear Day You Can See Block Island. This is by Gage Greenwood, and this is a Twisted Retreat special edition. There's just something about this one that has been calling to me. It is about some siblings, I believe, that had something happen on this block island years ago, some sort of trauma, and they need to go back and revisit it. That's my recollection. I could be way off base. The little blurb inside just says they left the island, but the island never left them. For chapter titles, I'm putting on another series that I am participating in, a series read-along, A Memory of Light by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. I'm putting this one on because this is the final book in the series, not the first one I'm going to be reading in 2025, but there is just something about finishing Wheel of Time that's going to feel really good, and I thought it would be fun to have that be the book that crosses off a book on this bingo card. It's been a lot of fun participating in the live shows for this. The read along is hosted by Sandra at Got a Thing for Things. I will have her link down below as well. We are on the final few books, so if you have read the series, I definitely recommend joining in. We're going to be reading the last 3 in 2025. For a debut novel, I am planning to read Listen to Your Sister by Nina Veal, and this is one that comes out on February 4th, and I do have a e-arc of it from Macmillan, and it sounds like it is weird, speculative horror. We're following a woman who takes custody of her younger brother. Things spiral out of control in some way, shape, or form, and then there winds up being threat to them and reality. I don't know what's going on with this, but it does comp this to Jordan Peele films and Stranger Things, and it says it's both laugh out loud and deeply terrifying and big-hearted, so it has me very interested to check this one out. For mental health rep, I've decided I'm going to be reading More or Less Maddie by Lisa Geneva, and this is an author that I really loved in the past. I read Still Alice by this author, which is tackling Alzheimer's, and I thought it was really well done, coming from someone who did lose my grandfather to Alzheimer's. So this newer book that is coming out January 14th is looking at a main character with bipolar disorder, and the reviews so far seem to indicate this is done really well, and I do have the audio arc from Simon Audio, so I will be reading this very early on in January. And for our final row, the first prompt is to read a book with a snake on the cover, which had me a little bit worried since I did a whole vlog with snake covers and didn't find as many on my shelves as I would have thought. But we are getting a new Hunger Games prequel, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and this one does have a snake on the cover. And this is Haymitch's story, and I am very eager to read this, to get his backstory. He's a character I really enjoy in the Hunger Games, so I will for sure be picking this up. For self-published, I am going to be reading Revolve by Kimberly Davis Basso, and this is a short story horror collection, and the second one this author has self-published. I really loved the first collection, so I'm sure I'm going to love this as well. I had planned to read it during spooky season this year, but the post office ate my order, and she very kindly sent me a new copy, but I didn't quite get it in time to get it into my October reading, so it's moving on into my 2025 reading. This is an author I've had the privilege to get to know through Bookstagram and through some book meetups, because she's also a Southern California bookstagrammer, in addition to being a fantastic author of short stories and also nonfiction, and I've really enjoyed everything she's written. For a new to me author, I had so many things I could have gone with, but I decided to do myself a favor and pick a book that is also on my horror bingo TBR and go with one that I think I probably need extra encouragement to remember to get to. For some reason, I just keep setting it aside, and that is Neverest by T.L. Bodine. This is definitely a new to me author. It's also a special edition I received from Twisted Retreat, and one that I do want to get to. I just don't know why I haven't yet. In this one, we're following two different times of Everest, and on the first one, a man goes missing. On the second one, the wife is going up the mountain to try to get answers. I think we're getting the past timeline through journals, we're getting the present timeline through the wife, and that's all I know about it, but it is one that I need to pick up. For a TBR vet, since my classics buddy read that I help co-host on Bookstagram is going to be adding a Agatha Christie book to the mix this year, I thought it would be the perfect year to make sure I finally pick up The Mystery of Mrs. Christie, and this is by Marie Benedict. It's historical, which is not my go-to genre at the moment, but I enjoy Agatha Christie. I have enjoyed Marie Benedict books in the past, so I am pretty hopeful that I will enjoy this one. This is about the real life Agatha Christie and a mystery surrounding her going missing for a short period of time, as I recollect it. So I am interested to find out the story that Marie Benedict has to tell us about it. And last but not least, the final square on the bingo board is to pick a prompt from a different reading challenge. And for this one, I went to Around the Year in 52 Books, which is a group on Goodreads that I have been following and being part of for the last several years. And every year, over the course of like the latter half of the year, they nominate prompts and vote on prompts and come up with a list of 52 prompts for the following year. And I really enjoy the way that they go through the process and talk about the prompts and generate lists of potential books for prompts. And one of the prompts that caught my eye in particular this year was the prompt to read an author that you've enjoyed before, but for whatever reason, you haven't read them again in quite some time. And the other prompt that caught my eye was for an Irish author, and I wound up kind of combining those two because I don't read that many Irish authors. And one of the books that I remembered really enjoying by an Irish author is by Jo Spain. So I have put The Perfect Lie by Jo Spain on this list. When I was doing a thriller buddy read over on Bookstagram, we read The Confession, and I really enjoyed it, and I've been meaning to read more of her books and just haven't. So this seemed like the perfect time. I just got this one in the mail, so I really don't know much about it. I just saw it was a more recent release. It had good reviews. It says he jumped to his death in front of witnesses. Now his wife is charged with murder. So I really am looking forward to finding out what this is actually all about. So those are the 25 books I am committing to definitely getting to in 2025. That shouldn't be a problem. I read a lot of books in any given year, and yet sometimes these lists kind of escape my memory and books go by the wayside and I don't get to them. So I am going to be holding myself accountable to getting to these. Let me know in the comments below, have you read any of these or any of these on your TBR? I'm so excited to see what books 2025 brings us and what additional books I'm going to wind up adding to my TBR. But this list of 25 definitely has me hyped. If you made it this far and you don't have anything to comment, leave me an emoji that's silver in some way, shape, or form, because 25 is the silver anniversary year. Thank you so much for being here and so much for supporting my channel. If you could hit that like button below, I would surely appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see me reading some of these books, sharing some of my thoughts with you, and more of my TBRs. But for now, I will leave you here and see you real soon in a new video.